The glue has set up on the part of the leaves that we've attached, which was leaves 2, 3, and 4. That section, we just finished gluing it to the case, and that is all set up. So now we can go ahead and join leaves 1. Now, a couple of things. Number 1, here, I think you can see where I've drawn some, I've taken a marker and I've extended the lines of the embossing up into this section of the paper that did not get embossed. I hadn't realized just how deep this cut comes up, but it's easy to just take a marker and extend those lines, and then you don't see any of this brown up here. The 7.5 length will be sufficient, but you just to give the illusion that the bark is continuing up here, I just took my marker and extended these lines a little bit. It's not very noticeable even without that, but it's just one of those little things that you know, would bug me if I didn't do it. So we're going to add piece 1. Just with the gluing, following our pattern that we did before, by knowing that if we put glue on the part that does not have patterned paper, that will be the proper places to glue in order to get this to attach to the case. We won't put any glue in this section because it's actually a little bit higher than the tree trunk here. I ended up making leaves 1 and 5 a little deeper just to accommodate the branch more easily. One other thing before we actually start putting the glue on, and that is a reminder that this straight piece here lines up with the top of that trunk, and when we do that you can feel that it is there. And the other thing I'm looking for is that this notch right here aligns with the front part of the tree. And the last thing is, you can see I have a piece of paper sitting out here to the side. And that piece of paper I'm going to use to help me keep the little bird notch here straight. So that before I put the glue down, I'm going to take my paper and align it with the edge of the root. Now you can do this in an upright position too if you'd rather. And this is just a standard 8.5 piece wide, which is about the height that this little bird notch is at. And by keeping this paper aligned with the bottom edge down here, then you can use the top edge to gauge if you're keeping the bottom of the tree notch here paralleled with the bottom of the case. So that's just a little trick. You don't have to measure anything. Even if this wasn't exactly the right height, as long as it's a little bit shorter, you can gauge if you've got it parallel there. So that's what I'm going to use to make sure I've got it placed right. And oh, I had this temporarily inside of here, but I don't want that in now. And okay, I found my gluing sheet, so let's get ready to glue. I'm going to have it in this position to begin with so that I can align this notch here, and then I'll quickly move it to this position and use my paper to make sure that my bird notch is aligned. That's my plan. Let's go for it. I'm going to stand up so I can see what I'm doing. Now get this paper aligned here. That looks pretty good. And I'll just hold pressure on that until it sets up. And once it sets up, I'll be back and we'll do the next piece. So now leaves 1 is thoroughly dry on here, and I want to say that I let it dry, it was over a half an hour, and I put a weight on it just to make sure it dried thoroughly and was stuck in place. So now we're ready to turn it over and put leaves 5 on. And we'll follow the same kind of procedure as far as, where to put our glue. And I did extend my embossing lines kind of with a marker up into this kind of blank area right on the tip of the bark paper here. And one thing I would like to say about putting this in place that I didn't say when I did leaves 1 is that, when you're dry fitting, it's okay to slide it down to find the top of the trunk here. But obviously once you have glue on here, you don't want to be sliding it into position. So what I've done when I'm dry fitting is I'm just looking for a couple of reference points so that when I come down, when I have glue on, I can just come, straight down to it. And it's easy on this paper that has words on it to say, oh, well, this point is matching up right in front of the word that, and this point here is right on top of this little birdie's tail. So that gives you some reference points too, so that when you've got the glue on, you can just come straight down and not be wiggling around too much. So I'm going to put my glue on and then put a weight on it and let it thoroughly dry, and then we'll be back for the next step. Leaves 5 has now been attached to the construction, and so we're ready to add our branches. We're going to put the back branch on first, and then we'll look at the front branch, which goes on the same way, but we're going to do something a little special with it. So you may recall that up here in both leaves 1 and 5, there's a little hole, and that hole is to allow the end of the branch to come in to the leaves. And so we've got 2 points of gluing contact. We have right here on the bottom of the tip of the branch when it goes up inside of there, and then also here on this back of this shape where it attaches to the trunk. There is gaps underneath here, so you won't be able to glue that all the way down. So we'll just have these 2 points of contact, and again what I'm doing is getting that positioned where I want to have it, and then finding a reference point on this paper so that I know, or on the bark, either way, so that I know where it is that I want to put it down once I get glue on here. And actually I think I'll put the glue on the inside of the that hole, and I think I'll put a piece of patty paper down here just in case. Me and my insurance, I just like to have a little insurance to know where to make sure I don't have any issues. And in fact, I can use that patty paper just to make a little tick mark there so I know where to put my branch. So let's go ahead and get that attached. Stick some glue up inside of here. Put some glue on the back of here. Just letting that set for just a second. Sticking this up in here. Looking for my tick mark. And then I'm going to hold both down. I got a little oozing here, so I'm going to come after that real quick. There we go. So I'm just going to put some pressure on these places, and after it's dry, I will come back and we will look at the branch for the front of the tree. So the back branch is attached, and now it's time to turn our attention to the front branch. But before we attach this on, I'd like to add a little feature, and that is to have a key dangling from a piece of blue ribbon from that branch. That is an image that we see on the Secret Garden paper, and I think it'd be fun to have that element here. And what I'm using for the key is one of the Graphic 45 shabby chic ornate metal keys. So what I've done is I've got a length of 1/8 inch blue ribbon here. I think it's about 2 feet long. And I've just taken the two ends and crisscrossed them through the hanging hole in the key. And then I'm going to put a lark's head knot, use a lark's head knot, and I just find it easier to do this before the branch is attached, so you don't have to try to feed this up through. So what you do is you have this loop that's going this way, loop it across the top of the branch, and then bring the key end through that loop so that you end up with something like this. Now, if you would prefer to have your, use a different kind of knot, certainly feel free to do that. So all I've done right now is just to make that loop, and I'm just going to leave all this kind of out of my way, and put down my patty paper like we did on the back, and see where this is going to go. Make sure you keep these ribbon guys out of the way. And once I have that there, and that's where I want my branch, I'm going to make a tick mark so that I know where to glue it. We'll glue it just like we did before. Put some glue on the inside of that hole. Put some glue on the back side here. Stick that end of the branch up inside of there and get that where we made our tick mark. Now we'll just hold some pressure on that until it dries, and then we'll be back to tie off our key. So the branch is dry, and I've tied a little bow around this key. Now, I'm not the world's greatest bow maker, but somewhere along the line I saw a little trick about tying it upside down, and then the tails will go better the way you want to do it. So I turned the box this way, tied my bow, and I think it's looking all right. Now I probably will come back and put a little dab of glue by some of these knots once I decide exactly where I want these ribbons to be, and so that key stays where I want it to be. So the last thing we have to do is to put our side roots on. And let's see. I think I'm going to have to explain it to you, but you won't be able to see it because the leaves are going to be in the way, and they have to be done when the box is standing up. So what I'm going to do is put wet glue on the back of the root and put it right here on the side angle, and make sure I'm going to do it upright so that the bottom of the root is flat against the table. And once that is completely dry, I might take off the score tape backing first, but I'm not going to try to join it on until the roots are both completely dry on there. And that'll give, by having those, it just gives a little more volume at the base of the tree, and I really think it kind of adds something to the project. So I'm going to just put some glue on here, stick this on, and I'll be back when those are dry and we can take a look at it. You can see that I have the box upside down now, and that is because I came in and took 2 strips of cardstock that I backed with, I think it's the 5/8 inch wide tape. If you don't have that, you could use 1/2 inch. But just to reinforce the join on the bottoms of these side roots, this strip comes across that joint between the side root and the base of the box here. And that, just give that a good burnish, and that reinforces that joint there between those side roots. And now they're on there very stably. And so the last thing to do is to remove the score tape backing from behind these pieces that we've made to come up the side of the tree to make that nice pretty connection there. So I will do that. Treating these kind of gingerly, and then they'll just come up and get burnished on and help camouflage that join. And I'll do that on the other one, and then I'll be back. There's one more little task to do, and that is to finish off the edge of the drawer that shows on the outside of the project. And so what I've done is to cut a piece of green cardstock that is 1 5/8 inch wide by 8 inches tall, and then a piece of the pattern paper. You remember when we reserved a strip of the Seed Fairy paper that is in the background on the cover behind the tree? That piece is cut 1 3/8 by 7 3/4 inch tall, just to give a little reveal on the edges. And then I did, before I did, I inked both the cardstock edges and the pattern paper edges. And so now, one thing you'll want to check before you go to attach this piece is to make sure you have the correct side of your box. So when the box goes into the project, it only, the ones I've had only fit in one way. So you want to make sure it's sliding in there easily and that the opening is facing towards the front, and that's the orientation that you should have it in. You can see here that I put a little arrow going up and to mark this side so that I would know which one to work on. So now it's just a matter of removing the score tape backing here. And getting this centered in the box. Whoops, I almost put it on upside down. Tilt this towards me so I can see it. That looks pretty good. Give that a burnish. There's the drawer. Then there's one more thing that we want to do to the drawer, And that is, we'll stick it inside of the tree here. And look at the knot hole. And mark where that knot hole is so that we can put something on top of that on the drawer. So we'll get something to go right there. Now I don't want anything special to be inside of the knot hole. I just want it to look dark. And so what I've done is cut an 1.5-inch circle out of cardstock, brown cardstock that I've backed with score tape. And on that pattern that I just drew, I'm going to center my circle. Try to here. And give that a burnish. Okay. So now we can put our Secret Garden star book inside of the drawer. It was made to fit just inside of there. And bring over our tree slipcase and slide the drawer into the case. And that is what our finished project looks like. Of course, I'll switch the camera view. In the finished video, it has the view will be changed so you can see it head on. And then when we want to get the book out, we put our thumb in the knot hole or your finger in the knot hole, give it a little push, and then out comes the drawer and our book. So that completes the construction of the Secret Garden slipcase. I hope you will consider making one of these yourself. It was certainly a lot of fun to figure out how to make this project and to actually construct it. This is April with Craft Knife Chronicles. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.